Okay, thank you for being here. I'm really excited. I've gotten a lot of requests over the years for this because I teach people who are starting a staging business, or honestly, any creative business, or honestly, any business, to use Trello to organize pretty much everything, especially if you have a team. Now, Trello is owned by Atlassian, and it's spelled Trello. And it's my favorite tool. I use it for everything. And so a lot of people have asked me, well, how do you get it set up? And I kept, trying to explain it, or I would do screenshots or whatever. And now I've realized that there are just no good tutorials out on the internet for Trello for the kind of way that I'm using it. And somebody finally sent me an Instagram message lately that was like, hey, I can't find any tutorials that aren't just the corporate BS and they don't actually show you how to use it in a useful way. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to walk you through the whole process. I'm going to, I have a few minutes today extra and I'm going to share my coffee with you, and we will build together a whole Trello world as if you were starting your staging business or whatever kind of business you have from scratch. So let's dive in. We're just kind of winging this because I want to see exactly what kind of problems you might run up against or what kind of questions you might have as you're going. So I'm going to take you along with me and you're going to do it with me. So I've got myself logged into a new test account so that I can start from scratch. And the first thing it's going to ask you is what board you want to create. So a Trello board is kind of where, what's the best way to explain it? It's kind of like you've got, well, you know what? It's probably better if I just show you. Let's just get into this. So let's start with to do. This is an easy one. I track my to-do list on Trello. So what I do is I have a list entitled Next, when as time allows, and albatrosses. Now you can, helps if you can spell. So you can name these whatever you want. Essentially, it's what you need to do now, what you need to do next, and what you either need to handle at some point or that you need to do possibly never or pawn off on somebody else. So this is a whole other thing about the way that I organize my to-do list. And I'm probably not going to get too in depth with this, but it's a pretty simple concept here. And it's okay. So it's the cards are your building blocks, as it says here. So you've got the board, the lists, and cards on each list. The card is the smallest component of Trello, and that's what you're going to be using most often. Once you create the boards, you might create or delete a list here and there, but it's mostly going to be cards you're working with. So card name one, let's say I need to um, mow the lawn. Card name two, reply to bookkeeper. I always type bookkeeper wrong because there are so many double letters in there about taxes. That's something I actually have to do. Sorry, Rachel. So we'll create more cards as we go. And then you can invite your team or you can skip it. Now, Trello, the reason I started using it in the first place is because when I had a team of people and a business partner, I needed everybody to be able to log in and easily see what was going on all the time, no matter where they were. And so it needed to be an app and it needed to be drag and drop, easy, user friendly, simple to just glance at. However, now that I'm back to solopreneurship, I still use this like crazy because it's still the most convenient thing. However, I'm not working with a team, so I'm just going to skip that. All right, so now we're inside Trello. You're starting with Trello Premium. Okay, so I use the free version. I've never seen a need to use anything but the free version. However, if you need unlimited boards, if you need a lot of collaborators, if you really want to customize things, then maybe you want to go into the premium version. But I honestly have never seen a need. Okay, so we're inside our first board, but I'm actually going to back up a little bit and go to the top left here with the Trello menu. so that you can kind of see the overall view. So up at the top, it's got some template suggestions and you can search for other templates. But right now I've got home, templates, and boards on my menu on the left. And your whole Trello workspace is the whole ecosystem in which all of this lives. So you can name that whatever you want. You don't have to get fancy with this. You're the only one really seeing it most of the time. I, however, like to get fancy because I am more motivated to do what I need to do when things are pretty. So, and very organized. Um, but I just wanted you to see the kind of the 1,000-foot view here. So we're going to go back into our to-do list. And it's already created because it prompted me to create this next as time allows and albatrosses. So let's say I want to keep my work to-do list and my personal to-do list on here at the same time because that's actually what I do. It helps me stay organized. So the way that I do that is I just create a blank card here. I just put a little period there to make it, put something in the field so that it would register as a card. And then, hello, I don't need the prompts. Please go away. All right. So then, let's see. This might take me a second because I'm honestly used to using this on mobile. Labels. Okay, top right, third one down. You've got labels. I'm going to open this and I'm going to select one or create a new label. Now, I am a designer. I like pretty colors, so I'm going to go in and choose a subtler, softer color. And I'm going to use this as my dividing line between my personal and my work to-do list. So mow the lawn will go down to the personal list. See if I can. No, it won't let me do it. The period is bothering me. I can't remember if I normally do it like that or not. I think I do. Okay, so then let's say I need to draw up floor plans for Bob Cobb. It's a made-up client, but let's say I need to do that. I'm going to drag it up to professional to-do list. And then when I'm organizing what I need to do, I can drag and drop these into whatever order I think needs to be at the top. So the thing I need to do the first goes up to the top. The thing that I need to do last goes down to the bottom. And then you can move these back and forth through these lists. So let's say I want to draw up these floor plans for Bob Cobb, but I've decided that I have a couple months and I don't need to do that yet because he's out of town, let's say. So I'm going to drag and drop that over to my as time allows. And if I get to the point where I have extra time in my to-do list, I can move it over to my to-do list, my next list, and get it done. Now, albatrosses I use for like big projects that have been hanging over my head, the albatross around my neck. And I know that when I go to do those projects, I need to leave a lot of time and I need a lot of mental space and patience to do them. So let's say, let's say call the IRS about 2023 taxes. Let's say that's the thing that I have to do and it's been hanging over my head for months. I'm going to put that in the albatrosses list. And then when I'm ready to do it, I can drag and drop it over if I feel like it to my next list. Now, when you actually do a task on mobile, it's a little bit different. You can kind of drag and swipe a card away, which is very satisfying. It's almost like crossing something off of a list. But on desktop here, you just need to go into your card and the bottom right hand menu, second to bottom on the right hand menu, is archive. And you just hit archive. And then you can delete things, but if you want things to still be searchable, then you can just archive them. I like to do that with most things so that if I ever need to go back and look, like, what was the name of that client, or et cetera, what was the name of that staging, I can go back and find it. And the way that you do that is top right here, there's a search bar. So let's say I'm trying to remember that Bob guy. Oh yeah, here it is, Bob Cobb. And I can click on there. Let's say, yeah, you get the idea. Okay, so that's how I manage my to-do list. It's very simple. It's full of cards all the time, but it really, really helps me stay organized. You can color code things using those labels and create your own custom labels. It's really, really helpful. All right, so we're going to create another board. create board here. And we're going to call this staging pipeline. You can, of course, call this whatever you want. I am going to call it staging pipeline, and that's how I manage my staging jobs. Now, you can do this inside a CRM or something like that if you'd like. You certainly don't have to use Trello for this, but it works very, very well for me. It's very searchable out in the field. And so you can see I'm going to show you where I went to that. So these three dots up here to the right, clicked on this, and I'm going to change background because again, hello, I'm a designer. It needs to be pretty. So let's say I want a pink background with a desk. Staging pipeline. Great. How about this globe? This is a pretty one. And it will update to that. And that way, you know, you're in the right board. It's a good visual reference. It's also just a little more motivating to want to do things while you are inside Trello. So the whole idea of a pipeline is it's like you've got clients flowing to you, flowing through, and you need to know how many are flowing in, how many are in the pipeline, where are they, and at what point are they at in the process. And then you need to be able to search them after the fact when you're done with their job. So let's say you've got new leads. Wow, I can type. All right. And then we're going to create one called followed up. So we're going to create one called signed and paid, in contract, ready for destaging, and completed. And then I'm going to create one more. And if you hit shift and then scroll with your mouse, you can scroll back and forth through these lists, which really helps go quickly and not have to go down to the bar and move it over. And then I also have one for dead leads because there are going to be some. You're not going to get every job that you quote. So the next step here is to create a template card. And in this card, I'm going to add everything that I typically need for a staging, all the information that I need. So I need the address. I need the lockbox code. Those are the two things I need most, and I want them to be at the top separate from everything else. And then I need realtor, homeowner, and notes. Now you can make this as elaborate as you want, add to this, take away from it, but this is the basic information that you need. You can put the square footage of the house, you can put notes about the house, you can do all kinds of things in here, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So let's say you've got this template created. I always like to put do not delete as a reminder to myself and anybody who's working with me that the template never gets deleted. And then that template lives right here in the new leads list. So let's say you have a new staging and you're ready to add it to your board. You can right click and copy, or excuse me, not right click, hit the three menu dots and then copy, and you're going to create another card. It creates that one right where you were before. And let's say you've got a new lead, you want to edit this card, click into it. And let's say the address is 1234 Jones Road, Akron, Ohio, 44305. Let's say the lockbox code is 1234. Here you can put notes, like maybe it's a sticky lockbox code so that you remember when you go to the house and it's not working, you remember to like jiggle it or whatever. So this is a great place for notes. Let's say the realtor's name is Jane Doe. 8675309. That way you have their info handy, and this is a great place also to save their email address. And you can have different items in the list for each of these. You can organize this however you want, et cetera, et cetera. So you put in the homeowner's info, and then down here, let's say you have notes. odd house. And this is a great place to take notes during your walkthrough. So, need extra vignettes for one-off spaces. Bigger than it seems. Client wants no extra holes in walls. Whatever your notes happen to be. Okay, so now you've got some good information about this one. You take this either from when you get it from the realtor, or let's say you're taking these notes later. And now what you can do is, oh, and I forgot. So you want to click into this and change the name of this away from template to the street name. So let's say this is Jones Road, Akron, Jane. I like to put the city that it's in and the realtor or the main reference if that's the homeowner, so that I can just at a glance remember Jones Road, which one is that? Like, oh yeah, that's with Jane Doe. That one's in Akron. And that is really helpful to me. Now we're frozen up. There we go. Okay, so Jones Road. Let's say that we got this lead and we have followed up. And so usually followed up means like we've called and maybe there's a walkthrough scheduled. You can add another list for walkthrough, customize this however it works best for you. This is just a nice simple version to show you today. So let's say that we have followed up and then we sent the quote and they've signed and paid, they're ready to go. Then we drag and drop this over to signed and paid. This is so easy. This is such a simple way to manage your pipeline. Okay, so then in contract or in 30-day term or however you want to word that, once you've actually installed the staging, move it over. And this is the most important list in a way, because this is how you know how many stagings you have out at a time, how many houses worth of inventory you have. If you don't have a clearer picture on that, you can really tell if you're looking at your list and you know, okay, I've got 6 stagings out and I could do at least 2 more houses with the inventory I have. So I have 8 houses worth of staging on average. That's really helpful to know. And then when it is ready for destaging, this is actually a great point to mention that if it is appropriate, this is a good place sometimes to have the due date. So you can say, let's say maybe due 7/7/24. That way you know that their 30-day term is up on 7/7/24 and you can kind of keep an eye on it. The other way I like to keep track of those dates is to put it on my actual calendar. So I schedule it on the calendar 30 days after the term has started. Jones Road, 30 days due. So let's say the house sold, they don't need a renewal, then you drag and drop over to ready for destaging so that you can get that on the calendar. And then once the destaging is done, you move it over to completed. And this is a great place to be able to keep track of how many stagings you've done, which realtors they were with, all that sort of thing. Because if you go up to your search bar and you search for one realtor, then every job you've ever done with them will come up. If you go to your search bar and you search Jones Road because you're like, I swear I've done one on Jones Road before, Jones Road will come up and you can see. Then let's say, you've got a staging, a lead that never went anywhere, then that can be put in this dead leads list. But it's nice to know how many jobs have you missed out on, or missed out on is a little extreme. You're not going to get every job that you quote, but you're not going to want every job that you quote. So sometimes it's a good thing. But how many have you passed on, or have they passed on? How many dead leads have you had? It's also nice to know to be able to search those as well. So like, I recognize this name, but I don't think I've staged with them before. And you put it in the search box and it comes up and you're like, oh, that's because I quoted one for her, but I never actually did the job. That's helpful to know too, because sometimes that becomes a pattern and you want to know if you're wasting your time or not. Okay, so then the next thing I want to talk about is inside these cards, you can create checklists. So on the right-hand side, 4th one down, you've got checklist. You can title the checklist. So let's say packing. This is where you can keep track of your packing list for this house. So what I actually like to do, and I don't know that this is necessarily good advice, but it's what I do. a lot of the time when I am lying in bed the night before and I just can't get my brain to stop racing about the staging the next day, and some people plan a lot further ahead than this. I've been doing this for about a decade, so I can do a lot of mentally and without having to kind of hammer through it every time. But I do always still make a packing list because it calms me down and it makes sure that I don't miss anything. So I will start going through the photos if I have not already done this, and a lot of times I have. But if I haven't already done this, because I think it's a pretty simple job, but I kind of want to get it really in my head for the next day so I can pack quickly, I start my checklist. So let's say sofa, add, side chairs, coffee table, floor lamp, floor. I can't take it. I have to fix the spelling. All right. Um, area rug, 8 by 10, and so on and so forth. And you can list everything that you need to pack for this house here. Now, let's say you know which sofa you want to use. This is a good place to note that. Sofa, brown leather. Or let's say side chairs, you don't know which ones you want, but you know they have to be small. Use smallest you have. Now, this is also a really great way to be able to pack with a team. If you put enough notes in here, if you say, tallest olive tree or big black basket or whatever it is, that you can give them cues so that they can pack for you and you don't have to physically be packing everything if you have helping hands. But what you should be doing when your movers are packing your staging is looking at this list, double checking absolutely everything. And I go to the lengths of, I put napkins, napkin rings, shower curtain rod, shower curtain, um, rings, et cetera, et cetera. And I really get elaborate with this so that I don't have to think on the fly, because on the fly, my brain tends to freeze up. So I love to have all of this written down ahead of time. And then it's just really easy to cross these off as they're being packed. But then you can also uncheck them if for some reason you're trying to go through this list multiple times for any reason. Maybe you want to make sure that you pulled everything to pack and you can go through the whole list, check everything. Then once everything is checked, uncheck everything real quickly. And that way you check it again when you've actually put it on the truck. So there's lots of customizability here for keeping track of these sort of things. And there's all kinds of other stuff that you can do in these cards that I honestly don't use. But you can do a location, you can add different members, you can use labels, you can add a cover to the card. But one other thing that I do like to use a lot though is attachment, because you can choose a file, you can search or paste a link and change the display text. So that way you can add photos. When you take walkthrough photos, you can put them all right on this card. And that way, when you're going to pack, you're like, what did that room look like? How much art do I need? And you can do the list right from the pictures. So when you do a walkthrough, you take your notes inside the card and you immediately attach all of the images to this card so that when you go to do the quote, it's all in one place. And it's also there for, let's say you want to do before and after photos, you know where all your before photos are. You can find them instantly and download them from the card. So I think that's everything we need to talk about there. Let's move on to another board. And let's call this one inventory. And do sofas, side chairs, dining chairs, dining tables, and maybe miscellaneous. So when I keep track of my inventory, I do not keep track of everything in one place. I only keep track of the expensive, hard to replace items like sofas, side chairs, because ultimately this is for me knowing where my biggest things are at any time and when they're going to be coming back, so that I know if I've got a job coming up, do I have a sofa for it that's appropriate, or do I need to buy one? That's really helpful. It's also helpful for insurance purposes to know where everything is and to just know how many sofas you have at a glance and what they all look like. So what I like to do here is let's say I've got a brown leather Chesterfield, and I don't have a picture of one handy, so we're going to go into the interwebs and grab one. Let's say I've got this $5,000 sofa just for funsies, let's say. Just need a random image here. So I'm going to do Shift Window S. Here I am. I seem to be frozen. Hold on. Maybe it doesn't like. Oh, here we go. And I'm going to select, it's slow because of Zoom. I'm going to select this. And, I just realized this may not work because I'm doing a screenshot instead of an image. Sorry, everything's being very slow. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Okay. Never tried to do this before. It worked. Okay, so I just copy pasted right onto the card, and it auto populates whatever first image you add to a card as your cover, and then you can customize that if you want. So you can also remove it, but in our case, we're going to leave it because it's helpful, because now you can see my brown leather Chesterfield sofa right here. I can see at a glance exactly what that looks like. Now, inside this list, we're going to do in staging, in warehouse. And so let's say I like to use labels again for these to help color code. So let's say we've got in staging. And I like to use gradient colors to kind of help me keep track of things. So to me, pink naturally goes into orange. So it kind of helps me know, like, is it out? Is it in? Good mental trick for me. It may not work for you, but so let's say this brown leather Chesterfield is in a staging. I'm going to drag and drop that into my in a staging list. And then I'm going to go into the card, and I'm just going to keep a running tally of where this is. So location. I'm just going to say, what do we just say? Jones Road. In Jones Road, 30 days due, what did I say? 7/7/24, I think. And that way I know that on 7/7/24, this sofa will be available again. And I'm just going to keep a running tally of that. So let's say it comes back, then I will make a note of that. And you can go top to bottom, bottom to top, whatever works best for you. Or if you don't care about keeping track of where things have been in the past, you can just keep whatever is current information in here. However this works for you, this is just the simplest way I have found to manage big items instead of managing all kinds of tiny little items all at the same place. But you kind of start to see here how you could customize this in different ways. So let's say you have, your brain works a little bit differently. Let's archive this and archive this and going to show you a different way that you could do this that might work better for your business. So you could do it this way. Because let's say you're doing interior design instead of staging or something different. So now let's say you're trying to keep track of what's in the staging, what's in the warehouse, what's ready for install, what's miscellaneous. Then let's say this is ready for install in an interior design client's house. You can put this over here and put your note that says ready for install at Jones Road project. Let's say that's an interior design project instead. And let's say the project is getting installed on 7/7/24. So now you've got a note there. Another way you could do this is, let's say these have been deleted. Let's say your interior design project is Jones Road. Instead of this being an inventory management so much, this could be more of a project management board. So let's say that you're collecting images that are going to go in Jones Road, then you can just use one list and put all of the items in that list so that you know the price point. So here's where you would go in and the description of the card, you would say, maybe you leave that note, and then you do, this is where a template card would be useful again. Or let's say you want retail, discount, store where it was purchased, date, purchased, et cetera, et cetera. This is a great place to keep track of all that information as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can use this. It's very, very fluid and customizable. And that's one of the things I like the most about it, because I have tweaked and changed my methods of keeping track of things about a million times over the years. And there's just a lot of different ways that you can go about it. All right, we're going to create another board. And this one's going to be titled Marketing. So in marketing, and I am actually going off of my own cards here, which is why I keep looking down, because I want to show you how I actually use this. So social media and marketing, let's say blog post ideas, links for social, post ideas, story ideas, copy, advertising, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. So now I can keep track of, oh, we're frozen again. Now I can keep track of blog post ideas. So let's say I want to create a blog post about this. So Trello tutorial with template, which I'm going to see if I can create a template out of this. I'm not sure I can. If I can, I will share it with you. If I can't, this is going to have to be enough. So Trello tutorial with template, new design trends. And so when I've got a little bit of time and I have this brainstorm of, oh man, that would be a great blog post, then I just come in here and I create a little card for it. And then whenever I have the time and energy, I can start writing the blog post right inside this card. And then when it's time to post it, I can copy and paste it. I can do an outline, or I can keep images or inspiration or just a few notes, whatever I want to do. And then what I also like to do is keep track of what I've already done. So I do another label, and that way, if I have done the new design trends blog post, then I drag that down to completed. And that way I know if I'm coming up with, what do I want to talk about this week? I can look at what I've completed and realize, like, oh, I already talked about that, or I talked about something a lot like that just a few blog posts ago. That really helps me make sure that I'm not duplicating things, but it also helps me know that if I've done something long enough ago, as long as I'm dragging them into chronological order, I know that, okay, this one I did months and months ago, I could do that one again. And that's great when you're out of ideas. Sometimes it happens. So here I like to, a lot of times people will ask you, when you're in business, you need to copy and paste your link to Instagram, your link to TikTok, your link to YouTube, whatever it is, all the time. So I just like to create a card in here where I have the link handy, and I just drag and or copy and paste that into my description. Now I do want to show you something that happens here that's a little bit obnoxious. So let's say I'm trying to share the link to my website. Okay, I'm going to go back to Trello. So if I copy and paste this, Control V, it automatically formats this into an instantly clickable link, but I need to know the URL. I don't want it to auto format like that personally. So I just do Control Z and it puts it back to the actual link. So that's a handy thing to know. Okay, so you get the idea here. You can do post ideas, story ideas. I use this list of copy so that if I write out my whole origin story of how I became a designer in one place, before I post it or whatever I'm doing with it, I copy and paste it onto a card here and label it origin story instead of having to reinvent the wheel and rewrite this stuff over and over and over again. That way you can copy and paste it and tweak it a little bit if you need to. And that can be really, really helpful. Saves you a ton of time, and it also makes sure that your brand consistency is solid. You can save images in here. Oh, there is one thing that you can do. Let's see, I want to show you. So let's say you're trying to do the website link. You can just keep the link as the card title. And when you do that, it auto-populates a very clickable link and a preview of the website and everything. So now I could just click right on this and copy and paste from there. So you can save a card that's a link. You can save a card that's a title with a link inside the card, whatever works best for you. All right, let's see, what else do we need to talk about? Okay, so one thing that I do keep track of inside Trello is secure information. Now, you want to make sure, first of all, disclaimer, I do not know for a fact that Trello is really secure enough to be handling a lot of extremely secure information. I have biometrics on everything so that nobody can get in to sign into anything without me being able to physically be there, so that it's very unhackable. But that being said, this may or may not be the best place for this, but this is in fact what I do with less secure stuff. So let's say and if you have a board that you're sharing with your whole business, you want to make sure that secure information is on a whole separate board with different people on it, so that, let's say your random delivery guy doesn't have the login information for your bank, for example. Not that I keep that secure information on here, but that way you can keep information that is helpful to all of the different elements of your business in one place. So I keep things like, so this list actually functions two ways for me. It helps me keep track of my monthly costs, and it also helps me keep track of logins, or if not the actual login, where the login information is. And this could go on, but I'm showing you kind of how these are helpful for any business owner, which is why I'm kind of scrolling through all of these and typing them all in, because it took me a while to get to the point where I was this organized, and it helps a lot once you are. So if you can kind of skip ahead and copy off me a little bit, it might help you get ahead and just feel a little more sane as a business owner. Okay, so let's say we've got something like this. Now I can create a card for, let's say I need my EIN can be saved on a card. My login for my Ohio Business Gateway, which is how I log in for taxes and things like that. Let's say I need, let's say I'm using Dropbox login. Legal and taxes, anything that has to do with those goes in that list. And then financial accounts, let's say it is bookkeeping. See, I cannot type that word. And every time I type it like that, I think of a chicken. Bookkeeping. All right, let's say Afterpay, Venmo, things like that. And then payment processors. Let's say right now I'm using Pixieset, or let's say I'm using Square or Stripe or all of the above. That can, all that login info can be saved there. Utilities, of course. Let's say it's, if I have a warehouse at the time or something like that, all your different logins and info about anything here can be saved so that you know how to find it. Credit cards are obvious. If you have affiliate links, This is a great place to keep track of those sorts of things. Email and communications accounts, if you have multiples to keep track of. I have all kinds of different email addresses that I use, so it's a great way to keep track of them in here with their logins. And so other communications accounts I found, like Zoom, G Suite, Flowdesk, my email service. Those are the kinds of things that I keep here. Domains and website, that's pretty obvious. Creative accounts might be something like Canva, some editing software. What else? Kuhome, which is a program that I use for floor plans and rendering. Anything that I use to create goes here. Organizational accounts is stuff like Trello. It's stuff like my time tree, my calendar app that I use, which I highly recommend. It's fabulous. It's free. So speaking of which, organizational accounts here, let's say I have, speaking of time tree, I then put a little note here that says free. And down in the description, I'm going to make a note that says signed up on blank date with blank email address, and then maybe I've got my login information there. Again, if you feel, that it's secure enough. And so the other thing that I do, let's say, I've got some kind of calendar app add-on. I don't, but let's say that I do for argument's sake. And it was $5 a month. That way, at a glance, I can look and see all my organizational accounts. Do I need all of these? Is there one that's costing me a lot more than the others that I don't actually need? And I can easily see how much am I spending on these things every month. You can put, a one-time fee listed there. You can put an annual fee listed there, et cetera, et cetera. Social media accounts you can link here with your logins. And then I also have a list for old logins and details, so that if for some reason I forgot to note a new one, or I just need to know what was that app that I used to use? Did I try this one yet? Have I ever done a free trial for House, which I did, and I will say I absolutely hated it. I tried it several times, hated it every time. So let's say I'm not using this calendar app add-on anymore. I can drag and drop it to old details and logins, and that way it's still searchable. And it's just handy to have all of that. Now, even if I had archived it, it still would be searchable, but I like to have it organized like this so I can just glance quickly. If I'm trying to figure out what CRMs have I tried, I can look at that list and go like, oh, that was one, that was one, that was so I've tried like 15 different CRMs over the years. So that is how I keep track of secure information using Trello. Let's go to one more here. Okay. So the last one that I use is home office. And this is where I keep track of things like email templates, although that could go in your staging pipeline. That could go, and I'll show you a way that that could be used in your staging pipeline. Or it could go in your marketing folder with copy, whatever feels good. But one thing that hold on, how did I end up? I keep going a little too fast here, and I don't know how I ended up here, but let's start fresh with home office. Pretend this is a fresh new board and I didn't end up in the wrong one. And so I want to talk about this validation vault that I do. So let's say somebody says something really nice about you online, whether it's a picture from a realtor that posts that you sold a house really quickly, or you did an amazing job, or they love working with you, or somebody leaves you a great review. I take a screenshot and I save it on one of these cards. And that way, whenever I need a boost because somebody was mean to me, or I'm having a bad day, or I've lost faith in myself, or I've got imposter syndrome going on, I can go back to that list and scroll through it and be like, oh yeah, I'm awesome. And then the other thing is that it's really great to pull from that for marketing and social media. So you want to brag on yourself. And then I have another list for resources and records, which has things like, Honestly, it's kind of random stuff that doesn't go anywhere else, but a screenshot from Answer the Public, which is a great way to figure out what people are talking about online when it comes to your business and your industry. And I used to have a master task list in there. So home office can be things like HR information. So let's say you want to save, back when I had a team, I had a list of HR info, and it was um, every employee's information about their family. So like how many kids do they have? What are their kids' names? When are their kids' birthdays? What's their favorite candy bar? What's their favorite restaurant? Do they like flowers? So those kinds of things are helpful to kind of, stay on the good side of the people who are working for you, as you absolutely should. And making sure that their information, when their birthday is, all that sort of thing, all kept in one place. So I'm going to go back to, we're going to go to board on the left. And I'm going to show you what all this looks like now. So when you change the background, it auto populates here. So it really helps me because I'm so visual that I can see if I know that my staging pipeline, for example, has a picture of a dark blue door on it. And I just know so quick that way, like I'm aiming for the blue door and I don't have to read which one of these is which if I'm in a hurry. So we're going to go back to the staging pipeline. And I'm going to show you one more thing that I do. This is where I used to keep my email templates, and I recommend doing this. It's a great, great way to do this. So once you write an email once that is, hello, so-and-so, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm really excited to talk to you about staging. I'd love to schedule a walkthrough with you, which date is appropriate, or whatever the case may be, whatever the email is, you can just copy and paste it right into your new lead email card here. And that way, anytime you need it, it is handy. And then same thing, you've got your walkthrough email template. Thank you so much for having us walk through your property. Or you could call it your quote email template. Thank you so much for having us walk through your property. Here is your quote. Here are some things that you need to know. Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. Here's some reviews of me. Here's a link to my website, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can have, let's say, so in contract, I have a 2-week follow-up email template. As you can see, I can't type without looking, which is shameful, but here we are, 40 years old. 2-week follow-up email template. And so that would be something like, your staging has been in place for 2 weeks. Can you believe it? We're so excited. We want to know how everything is going. Heads up, your due date is coming up on July 7th. And so please let us know within the next 10 days or whatever it is, whether or not you would like to renew your staging or have us come and destage it on this date, or this date. You can customize this however suits you, but having that email template handy not only reminds you to send it, but it also makes it sure that you've got it handy and you don't have to rewrite that a million times. All right, let me see if there's anything else I want to show you. I think that is the majority of what I use Trello for. Now, again, this search function is incredible to be able to find anything you're looking for. So Trello makes that so easy, and it looks a tiny bit clunky on desktop, but when you're on mobile, it's so simple, drag and drop, very intuitive, very simple. And there are just so many things that you can do with this. So I hope that this has helped you. I hope that you've learned something from this or gotten some ideas from it. I would love to hear other ideas or questions that you have about how to use this better for your business. So go ahead and drop them in the comments if you're on YouTube here with me, or feel free to DM me, send me an email. I love to know what you guys are needing and what's working for you. So I hope this was helpful, and I will see you soon with hopefully another really useful tutorial.